I spend most of my time viewing what I want from the outside. I comb it over like it's the scene of a crime. The only guilty I find staring.
Let's see if we can get this thing right. We've had tech issues this morning, but let's see if we can do this. Let me know if you can hear me, see me, and all the things. We're going to have some fun today. Money mentoring in the morning. Here we go. Let's see if we can get this thing right. Why am I... We've had tech issues this morning. Oh, I know what it is. If we can do this, let me know. Hold on. Hear me, see me, and all the things. We're going to have some fun today. Money mentoring in the morning. Here we go. Hold on. Why am I... We've had tech issues this morning. Oh, I know what it is. If we can do this, let me know. Hold on. Hear me, see me, and all the things. We're going to have some fun today. All right. Now we got it fixed. I love technology. All right. We're good. So let's start that again. Here we go. All right. Thanks for being here and being patient with the tech issues. It's like, we had a situation where, hey, Reggie's in here from San Antonio. Thank you for being here. We scheduled the live yesterday and then it just got wiped off the slates. I don't know where it went. It just disappeared. So I had to reschedule this morning, change the links and do all the things. But we're here and hopefully everyone will catch us. And if not, they'll catch the recordings. We are live on all the platforms, as far as I know. Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So, all right, how these things go, these money mentoring mornings, I'll usually talk about what I think is going on and everything. I have questions that come in because we have a hotline where you can go to askmelnow.com, leave me questions, or I get them on DMs, I get them in the comments, and I answer those questions. And then those of you that are on live, if you have questions, you type them in the chat, put a big Q and a colon so I can capture the question, and I'm here to answer the questions. The whole purpose of this is for us to have a conversation, for us to have a dialogue and talk about all things money, wealth, financial freedom, your journey, debt, whatever it is, even business. I'm open to it. We're not here. This is one of the things that I do. I do a live stream typically once a week like this. That's Q&A. I do 2 episodes on my show, Building Your Money Machine, every week. And it's all to serve. It's all to give back to people, to help people navigate and take control of their money, master their money, eliminate the financial stress. It's one of the biggest stressors in people's lives. and in relationships. They, in fact, say that it's the second leading cause of divorce. And that's a sad statement. So money shouldn't be a divisive tool. Money should be something that brings us together, because it's the paintbrush that allows us to paint the masterpiece called our life. It is the thing that allows us to do the things that create richness from the wealth. And so that's the thing that I want us to consider. And I want this to be a conversation, a dialogue in that way. And so as I started to look at what's going on, and like I said, I want to talk about some things that are going on, things that I think maybe you want to be aware of, and then answer some questions. But the first thing is that last week, I think it was a week ago, the Feds spoke, and the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell spoke and said that they were going to hold interest rates where they are. Okay, so they paused. We actually thought that was going to happen. It wasn't really a surprise. I know that there's stuff going back and forth between him and the president. You know, that's their shtick, and let them deal with it. But what does it mean to you? They decided to hold rates steady. They looked at things and said, well, there's a possibility of a decrease in rates, possibly later in the year. Some people are thinking even as soon as July. But let's be real. It's not really a pause. It's not really a pivot. It's just, this is what they're doing because the data hasn't shown anything yet. What the Fed is doing, is they are reading the data that is coming into them and trying to decide. Now, the Fed is trying to deal with this dual purpose of continued employment. So they're trying to balance the labor market with inflation. Those are the two things. They don't really care what's happening in the stock market. That's not what's driving anything. It's labor and unemployment and inflation. And the concern that they have is that inflation it may not be gone. And so they're holding back their tools, their weapons to attack inflation in case it comes back. Now, they hinted that they might drop some rates later in the year. But if you look at core inflation, which is, you know, especially services and insurance and food and energy, it's been stubborn. It's not where they want it to be. And so I think that we need to be patient. But that means something for you. That means that currently any kind of borrowing, including credit cards, especially credit cards, is going to be more expensive. It's going to stay more expensive. This is why we don't want to be carrying balances on credit cards right now. Now, the good side of it is that it means that high-yield cash accounts, high-yield savings accounts, the interest rates on those will typically stay a bit higher as interest rates stay high too. But our borrowing, our debt, it will be more costly. And that also means that if inflation stays there, then our cash, our cash that we have in the bank accounts is losing purchasing power. In other words, I mean, if you look at it, if we just look back a year and say, what would $10 or $100 purchase at the grocery store versus what it would purchase today, is different. And so it erodes our ability to buy the same things for the same amount and everything. But so that's one of the other things. And then the other thing is that it can cause people to pause and wait for the perfect time to invest. And I think that that's a losing game because we don't know the perfect time. We don't know where the tops are. We don't know where the bottoms are. We just know that the market moves. And the market moves in cycles. It goes up, it goes down. But 8 out of 10 years, it's typically up. Okay, the longer the term is, the higher the probability that it is up. We know that the downturns typically are less in length, shorter than than the upswings, okay? But it's not always. But we just looking at the historical data, we know that. So what does that mean for you? And I think it means a couple things. It means that hold on one sec. Sorry about that. So what it means that is that there are things you can do to protect yourself. And this is really the crux of where I want to go with that. And the first is that it's not a time to stall out. It's not a time to delay. It's a time to plan. It's a time to look at things and say, what am I doing in my finances right now? What am I doing with my spending? Now, I'm not telling you to stop anything. I'm telling you to raise your awareness, raise the understanding of what's going on, and start to look at it and say, well, what should I be doing with my spending? Is this spending moving me closer to where I want to be financially? Is it moving me closer to the life I want to live physically, spiritually, energetically? And if the spending that you have isn't aligned with moving you towards the dream life you want, then maybe it's spending we shouldn't have. And so we become discerning in our spending based upon keeping it in alignment and congruent with what we want to create in our life, not because of peer pressure, media, social media, because the neighbor got something, because someone else told you to get something, but you do it on your own. And so we create a plan now, and you start to look at it and say, okay, I can plan for what is today. And I can anticipate what will be tomorrow. I anticipate that over time, interest rates will drop. Will they get back to 3%? No, I don't think so. Not for a long time. Okay, that was a different kind of environment, a different time kind of thing. So the second thing I think we can do is get your cash earning. I was talking to someone yesterday. They had their cash sitting in a 0.1% savings account. No, get it out of there. Put it in a high yield savings account and get it earning for you. Now, it may only earn you 4%, but it's better than 0.1%. If inflation is 3%, you're at least beating inflation. You're not losing purchasing power. But here's the key. I want it in a high yield savings account that has three characteristics. That means that the account is 100% liquid. That means that you're not locking it up for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. You're not locking it up for a day. You have access to the funds immediately within 24 hours. The second characteristic, it is fully insured. Okay, that they have FDIC insurance or credit union insurance, wherever it is, that is fully insured, because this is our money that we want to keep safe. And so if the bank that you have it in has problems and it's insured, you're good. And the third is that there are no fees, that they don't charge you a deposit fee, a statement fee, or any other kind of fee that they want. They don't get to charge you for having your money in their bank so they can go make more money. So those are the three characteristics of a high yield savings account. And so I would, if you really want to figure out that, I would go to bankrate.com, take a look and do a search for high yield savings accounts. Now, here's a word of caution. You might see one that says, hey, we'll give you 6%. There are those banks out there that will do what's called teaser rates. So they'll give you 6%, but it might only be for 3 months. So, and then it drops to 2%. Or it might only be for the first $5,000, and then the rest is at 2%. So what I don't want you to do is get caught into a teaser rate and then end up at a lower rate. Just find something simple that's consistent. It's there, and there isn't a teaser rate. And I would go to bankrate.com to try and do that. Now, the third thing we should be doing right now is to look at it and say, are there ways to fix my debt, my interest rate on any of my variable debt? Now, credit cards go up and down. Many of the other types of loans go up and down. So does it make sense for me to try and fix the interest rate for now? We can always refinance and do some things later. But if we think that that's the case, we might be able to fix rate. If I have to borrow, then maybe we want to look at a fixed rate loan. Okay. I don't know when the interest rates will drop. Okay. The fourth thing that you can do here is to invest in real assets. Yes, even during inflation or volatility, we still should be investing. But I mean real assets, things that have cash flow, things that have growth, and things that are substantial. So we're talking about equities. Equities meaning stocks, bonds, potentially, but mostly stocks and things like that. Real estate, business interests. All of those types of assets, if they're done right, can outpace whatever inflation might come, if inflation comes back, okay? And then the last thing I would do is, do you know where you're going? I mean, literally, do you know what your freedom number is? Meaning that we run a race and each of us have a different financial freedom number because we all want to live a different kind of life. Some want to be in a tent in Montana. Some want to be on a yacht in Monaco. It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that it's your life. And what we do when I work with people in the Money Machine blueprint, or when I do their Money Machine master plan with them on a one-on-one basis, we're building to that dream life. We're looking for that freedom number. We're building the money machine to fund the lifestyle that they want. But too often, we don't know where we're going. We certainly know where we are because we feel the pain of the current existence, even if we're sticking our head in the sand. But if we don't know where we're going, we have no clue when we get there. That happened to me. And it took a bike accident and me getting a grade 4 concussion and someone getting in my face saying, you don't know the finish line because you haven't figured out how much enough is. And because you don't know the finish line, you'll just keep running. And keep running until you can't run anymore. And he said, the sad thing is the finish line could have been behind you if you just realized it. And the finish line really is different for everyone. The finish line is, what life do I want to live? And can I create the money machine to support that life? That's the game. So you're going to hear things about the Fed and the president and interest rates and inflation and is there a recession? Y'all, this is business. This is what the economic cycles do. They might say, oh, this time it's different. Well, they say every time they say it's different. Okay. And so that is where we gotta look at it, is that it's every time it's different, but it's the same thing, if you know what I mean. Markets go up, markets go down, economic cycles go up, economic cycles go down. And so our job is to control the things that we can control and prepare for the things that we can't. But if we lament on the things that we can't, then we're not spending the time on the things we can, and we never get ahead. You can control your earnings or your efforts to earn it. You can control your spending. You can control the investments you make. You can control your financial literacy. You can control your core group of people that support you in this journey. You can control all those things. I can't control whether the interest rates go down or up. I can't control whether the stock market goes up or down, but I know how to play in that game. That's what we need to work on. Hey? And Pavel says, Imel, if freedom isn't peace of mind, then what are we even buying all this money with all this money? I totally get it. Here's what I believe. You nailed it on the head. When I talk about freedom, I think financial freedom is the most rudimentary freedom we can strive for. because it's really not the size of the bank account we want. It's the other two freedoms that come along with it. The first freedom that comes along with it is time freedom. I get to choose. Every morning when I get up, I get to choose. I put my feet on the ground and I can choose what I'm going to do that day. I have agency over my time. I have control over my time. I can say no. I can say yes. That's freedom. And then the third freedom, you nailed it, is mind freedom. To have the peace of mind that you know that you're taken care of, your loved ones are taken care of, the missions, the movements, the things that you want are taken care of. See, the financial freedom is the foundation to give you the others. It's not the end. It's not the destination. That's not what we want. There are plenty of people, and we can see them all day long, that have a tremendously large bank account, but they have a tremendously bankrupt life account. That's not living a rich life. And so Pavel, you hit it right on the head. The important thing is the life that allows us to choose to live and everything. So Suzette, so good to have you here. Thank you. Suzette and I have known each other a while and worked together a lot. She is in the current version of the Money Machine Blueprint. So, but cool. All right. That's where I wanted to start. And now let's look at some questions. If you have questions, financial questions, money questions, investing questions, I can't give specific investment advice because we don't have that kind of relationship, but I can guide you on some things. And I'm going to go to some questions that came in on the hotline first. As you have questions. If you have questions, then do me a favor. Then just pop them in, put a Q with a colon, and we'll make sure that we grab them. And I'll do my best to help you out. That's what this is all about. Okay. So the first question that came in, Mel, I am 42 and I feel like I'm behind financially. Everyone around me seems to be ahead. I've got some savings, but not much invested. How do I stay motivated when I feel so far behind? All right. So first things first, don't believe everything you see from the outside. And I don't know where you're comparing to, but if you're comparing to what you see posted on their Instagram, their Facebook, their social channels, their TikToks, I caution you, because that is their picture perfect facade of a life. And I happen to know for a fact that there is someone out there that owns a fuselage of a private jet. It's a fuselage. It never leaves the ground. And he rents it out to these influencers that want to get on the plane and off the plane and take video and act like it's their plane or that they're flying private and doing all of that. That's the kind of, pardon the expression, crap that's out there. So I don't trust a damn thing that I see on it until I get to know people. And the fact is that when I get to know people and I see that they're driving the nice cars and they have all that stuff, I also see that they're a whole lot in debt. So let's be careful about the comparisons, because we will always find something that we might compare ourselves to and not feel so good about. Our comparison set should not be those around us. Our comparison set should be our prior self. Have I improved? Have I grown? It's why when we track things, we have a wealth scorecard and dashboard that our clients use to track the trends of their financial freedom journey, the trends of their investment, the trends of their investable net worth, the trends, because we are only comparing to our prior self and the destination that we've chosen. Okay, so that's the first thing that I think that is really important is that let's start to think about what we're comparing to, what we're evaluating, and what's driving it. Okay. The second thing is this, is that 42. Now I'm going to be 64 this year. So to me, 42, that's young. You got plenty of time. You got decades ahead of you. Okay. And the mistake that a lot of people make is and I'll jump to my iPad for this because I think it'll illustrate a little better just to understand that, is that when we go and look at wealth, we tend to look at wealth as if it's linear, like this. Wealth doesn't grow that way. In fact, wealth, what it does is it's flat for a period of time. And that's the time that's going to test your patience. That's the time that's going to test whether you have the staying power to stay in the game. That's what I call in my book is the wealth flat line. Okay, the wealth flat line is something that all of us have to go through, no matter who it is, no matter how much you make, no matter what you do, you have to go through the wealth flat line. And once you get past the wealth flat line, then the wealth starts to accumulate. And then it starts to accelerate. See, it's not a linear journey that you're on. And so you still have time to eat up the wealth flat line. The only thing that eats up the wealth flat line, this part of it here, is time. We have to get in the game. And when we get in the game, on the other side of that is the acceleration zone. And so that's where our money starts to work harder for us than we did for it, which is exactly why the subtitle on my book was named that, is that I want our money to work harder for us than we did for it. And so it's Tommy who sent this in. So Tommy, you have time, you have some savings, you have some investing. So here's some specific steps that I want you to take, okay? And that is this. First, I want you to define your life. Like I said before, I want you to define your freedom number, okay? And I have a tool that's a free tool on my website. You can go get it, or go to melabraham.com/number. I might even have a QR code here for you. I don't know. Let's see. I think that's it. Let's see if that works. There it is. Nope, that's not it. There it is. So melabraham.com/number, that will get it for you if you want to. But I want you to create and know what your destination is. It'll change, but it gives you a trajectory, okay? Second, okay, I want you to evaluate your spending, like I said before, and look for leaks, look for places that we can get money to start putting towards our financial future. Third, I want you to automate and start putting money away. I don't care if it's $5, $10, $50, $100. I need you on this curve. I need you in here eating up the flat line so we can get to the acceleration zone and do it from that perspective. So that means in your case, and I don't know if you're employed or you have your own business, if you have an employer that has a 401k, I want you to get in that 401k, especially if they match. Okay. If you don't have my book, grab my book. Okay. Building Your Money Machine. If you look in chapter 12, I walk through something called the Wealth Priority Ladder. I literally tell you what to do with every single dollar when it comes in, how to build an unshakable financial foundation so you can grow from there and build from there. So those are the steps that I would take, and then attach things to your own vision of life and celebrate all the micro successes along the way. Don't attach things to someone else's life. That's where we start to lose motivation. Okay? So that's how I would deal with this, Tommy. And you're in a good place. You have plenty of time, but we just got to be disciplined and move through it, and not worry about everyone else. Because one, we don't know if it's true. Two, they're living their own life, not your life. And three, we don't know all the facts behind it. Okay? All right. Great question. All right. I've got some things that are coming in. Let's just see. I have not. I will go look at that and see. I have not had a chance to look at what they're saying about Social Security. So let me take a look at that. Jose, I'm thinking. Thank you for being back. I'm recognizing names here. I'm thinking about investing in the S&P 500, but I heard the PR of. Are you talking the price earnings ratio? Of the overall S&P is very high right now, and that is a signal, therefore is a bad moment to invest. I was thinking of investing in dollar cost averaging mode. Okay, so y'all, this is a great question, Jose. You will always find a reason not to invest, but when we turn around and say, well, the price earnings ratio of the S&P 500 is high, which is a signal for what? For what? It's a signal that it's high. Compared to what? Compared to the past? Does it mean that it's going to drop? Is it an assurance or guarantee that it's going to drop? Because I can go back in other prior things, and when the PE multiple is high, and show that it dropped. But the question isn't whether it'll drop, because the market will drop, Jose. The market will drop for all of us. We just don't know when. We don't know how much. We don't know how long. So do I look at it and go, oh, the market is overpriced, and so therefore I'm not going to jump in? If I do that, I'm trying to time the market, and the data shows that no one has the ability to time the market long-term, including the biggest hedge fund traders, including the ones with the biggest computers, the best algorithms, the best analysts from Wharton and Yale and all that stuff. They can't beat the market long-term. So to take one metric and say too much, I'm not getting in, I'm buying every month. I'm not letting that happen, because here's what I know is going to happen. Here's what I know is going to happen. I'm going to buy, and the market is going to do one of three things. It's going to go up, it's going to go sideways, or it's going to go down. The next month, I'm going to buy, the market's going to go up, it's going to go sideways, or it's going to go down. But here's the other thing I know. The market historically does this. So it is always going up and down. But the long-term trend is here. But if we believe for a moment that we have the ability to pick this point and 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 this point, we're kidding ourselves. And if someone says they can, run for the hills. Okay? The reason we use dollar cost averaging is then at some point we're buying every month, and I might buy here 1 month, I might buy here 1 month, I might buy here 1 month, I might buy here another month, but then we have this average. But we're getting in the habit of buying. I'll tell you what, there's a study out there that was done where they took 20 years of the S&P 500. And they said, I put $10,000 into the S&P 500 over 20 years, and just sat there for 20 years. By the time you got to that 20th year, that $10,000 was worth close to $67,000. I'm going off the top of my head, but these are the numbers. Okay, $67,000. If I missed 10 of the best days in the market out of 20 years, that's one day every other year. If I miss 10 of the best days in the market, just 10 days, that $67,000 became $29,000, cut in half, because I missed 10 days. Here's the kicker. 7 of those 10 days were after the worst days in the market. So the best days in the market came after the big declines. And if you're not on the field playing the game, your returns, your growth is cut in half. So I'm not saying not necessarily to go buy the S&P 500. I'm just saying that be careful when we start to try to think that we can predict what's going on in the market, because we can't. But we can long-term, in a long-term view, look at it and say, what has the market done? Do we think the S&P 500 is going to zero? The answer is no, because if it does, we have bigger problems. Now, here's some other things to think about just for this thing, because I don't know your situation, is that when we create a plan, and including my plan, we do it in 3 buckets, okay? And those 3 buckets are like this. This is short term. Okay, which is literally less than 3 to 4 years, okay? This is mostly going to be cash, CDs, maybe some bonds, okay? Okay. Then we have midterm. This is going to be, say, 4 to maybe 8 years or so. And then you have long term. So you have a mix of a portfolio based upon timelines that allows you to make sure that you don't get destroyed. So I wouldn't if I'm putting anything in the stock market, it's long-term money or maybe midterm money at best, but it's never short-term money. So you manage your portfolio in that way, Jose. So you look at it in that context. So it's asset allocation, it's diversification, and it's bucketing into these time frames that you might need the money and making sure that you're investing properly for each of those. It's a great question, but I would be careful about allowing it to stop you from investing. But be smart about how you're structuring your portfolio, what you're doing, how much you're putting in. Again, follow the wealth priority ladder. Do you have liquidity and short-term cash needs, cash available for short-term needs? Then we build the portfolio from there. So thank you, my friend. All right. Pavel says, appreciate you, Mel. Time freedom is the one currency that I will protect above. Thanks for everything. From Slovakia. Awesome. Thank you. You're not crazy. No, you are not crazy to think that way. In fact, you are smart thinking that way. Keep thinking that way. Yeah. So, Josh, if you have a question, just put Q in there and give me the question, and we'll pick it up. Yeah, it's interesting when we start to look at the data, and that's why we got to be in the game playing. So. Post your questions in the chat. We'll get to it and everything. So let me go to another question that came in online, and that is, this is from Sally. She says, I'm 36. I have decent income, but I'm honestly scared to invest. Okay. What if I lose it all with the economy like this? How do I get over the fear? All right. Love this question. And the thing to realize is that is that fear, when it comes to when it comes to fear and money, it's not an existential fear. It's not like fear of my life. It's not like bodily harm. It's fear, but that fear is usually built on the pillars of lack. And what I mean by lack is that you are lacking something that will allow you to make a decision. So the first thing, and I talk about the stack of lack of fear in my book, but lack, the first is a lack of clarity. Like knowing what you want to invest in, why you want to invest, those, we don't have the clarity. Okay. The second is a lack of information. We don't have the information. Do I understand this investment? Do I understand what the stock market is? Do I understand ETFs or index funds? Do I understand the real estate? The third is a lack of action. Am I taking steps to skill up, to build my financial literacy, to understand, to associate with others, to take classes, to read books, to watch things? Now you're asking questions, so that's a good thing. The fourth is a lack of support. Do you have people around you that you can go to, that you trust, that don't have a bias, that are sitting back and willing to help? Here's one of them. Okay. So, and then do you have a plan? Is the other one. But if you look at all of these, what usually causes fear is a lack of one or more of these. And when you understand that, then all we have to do is go and plug the leak. Get the information, get the support, get the understanding, get the clarity, get an understanding of what to do with an action, get a backup plan. So the fear side of it is typically coming from something that's missing. Then we look at it and say, what if you lose it all in the economy? If we go to your question, I get it. Every time you invest, there is risk. There is no such thing as a risk-free investment. It just isn't. Okay, you always will take risk. And what you're feeling is normal because of all the headlines and the media and the social media and what people are saying. But we always got to look at the bias. Does the media really want to help you? Is the media trying to educate you, empower you? What's their job? Their job is eyeballs. Their job is viewers. Their job is ratings. Their job is advertisers. Their job is not to care about us. So they polarize the fear. And they know that will stir up the conversations, that will get the viewers and it'll get people talking, which will get the advertisers and get the ratings. And now that's how they make their money. So when I look at the media, it's with a jaded view because they're not there to empower us, help us, and do that for us. And all it's going to do is stir up the fear. I spend very little time watching the news, watching the media. I do my own research, my own critical thinking. Do we have economic uncertainty? Yeah, we do. We have geopolitical uncertainty with what's going on and with the different wars and the things that are going on. We've got uncertainty here in the U.S. Yeah. Is it much different than before? We can go back to different times. The things that are happening are different, the specifics, but we've been through wars before. We've been through unrest before. We've been through downturns before. Y'all, if our economy tanks to zero, the last thing we're worried about is investing. We're worried about survival. We're a long ways away from that. So, how do you take on investing while navigating the fear and navigating the uncertainty of an economy. You follow a process. You follow a system. That process and system starts with your education. Financial literacy is the first step to financial freedom. So we need to boost up your education. That means the shows you watch, the courses you take, the books you read, the people you talk to. That's going to start to strip away the lack, because as you understand more, you won't be emotionally driven by things. Y'all, just so you know, Sally, I'm no different than you. I literally sat in the audience at a conference listening to someone on stage who was a financial advisor telling me that doom and gloom was coming. This was well before I really understood what I'm doing now. And I did not even wait for him to finish speaking. And I got up from the audience. This was decades ago. And I walked out to the lobby. I called my stockbroker, said, I don't want to play the game anymore. Put me in cash. Put me in cash. So he took me out of every ownership interest I had, put me in cash, and I sat on the sidelines for over a decade. I went back because I'm a numbers nerd, and I looked at it and said, if I just kept investing my $500 a month, my $1,000 here and there, what would have happened? You know that my net worth would have been $3 million more. $3 million. My fear cost me $3 million bucks. Don't let it happen to you. Get educated, get the knowledge. So that's the first piece. The second piece, which goes back to a little bit of what Jose we were talking about, is we don't jump in with everything. We don't put everything in the middle and say, I'm put it all. Okay? That's not the way we invest. We always are looking to mitigate risk, to reduce risk. So one of the things to do is start off small, but start. Diversification is the key. You're not buying single stocks. You're buying a bucket of stocks, 500, 1,000 stocks. Certainly one or two will go bad, but the rest will keep you going. And you start off small, $100, $200, $300 a month. And through that process, you increase your literacy, your financial literacy, your understanding, and you make it happen. And you only invest at the pace that you're comfortable with. If you find that you put, $1,000 in and it keeps you up at night, then back it down to 500 and see if it keeps you up. 250. Start small. Get yourself used to it. You will see, yes, will the market go down? Yes. Will you lose money? Well, you lose value. You won't lose money unless you sell it. I'll give you a for instance. I bought into Tesla at one point and I was $80,000 down. Now I was trading it. I wasn't investing. It wasn't long-term investing. I was trading it. So $80,000 down. But by the end, because I knew I watched Tesla and I didn't panic. In the past, I would have panicked and I would have taken the $80,000 loss. But I did not take the $80,000 loss because I didn't need the money. I had the liquidity. Remember, I'm following the wealth priority ladder. I had the cash I didn't need the money to live. So I just sat on it. I said, Tesla's not going to zero. Tesla recovered and then some. And what was once an $80,000 loss turned into a $45,000 gain. So even if the value of your portfolio goes down, unless you sell it, it's not a loss. You just lost value. And if you're in good companies, they come back. Okay? So there's that. The other thing to think about, the third thing here is to frame it in the long term. You can't have a beanstalk attitude where, Jack and the Beanstalk, where you throw the beans out the window and you think it's going to be great wealth in the morning. No, you're going to keep planting the seeds over time. And then over decades, all of a sudden you've got millions. That's the game. Okay. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps with that navigation. So, So Paval, perfect. Build a freedom system. Never need a backup plan because you are the backup. Absolutely. So thank you, Suzette. Look, I am no different than anyone else on this. I have made the mistakes. I have felt the same pains. I have felt the same fears, angst, and anxiousness. So I get it. All right. Any other questions coming in? I've got one more. That came in that I wanna touch on. Okay. So this is a question that came in, and then we'll see if there's one or two more questions coming from you all, and if not, we'll close this out because we're almost at the top of the hour. Look at that, how time flies when we're having fun. Hopefully you're finding this of value. I so enjoy doing this and doing this every week. So this is becoming a weekly show. So Terrence says, my partner and I are thinking of moving to another state or even downsizing. How do we know if it's the right financial move? We want more freedom and lower expenses, but I'm nervous about the unknowns. Well, so this is the thing that I look at. I had a friend of mine, dear friend of mine. She was living in Florida, and she said, I want to be able to, we're thinking of moving to another state. Georgia is where they were thinking of moving. But we just built our house. I don't know that I want to go and up and move, and then we find that we don't like it. I said, well, don't move to Georgia in August because you won't like it. And so what I told her to do is I said, you have flexibility in your job. You have flexibility in the things that you're doing. Do you have enough flexibility to go get an Airbnb for a month or 6 weeks and live as if you were there? And that's what she did. And ultimately they ended up moving because they got acclimated to the place. They liked the area, and they ended up buying a house close to the Airbnb because it was, but they experienced it. So I would start to look at it from that perspective, say, how can I test the waters and experience it? Even when it comes to retirement, I tell people that if you're approaching retirement, I want you to do some test retirements because you're not retiring to nothing. You're transitioning to something different. I'm never going to retire. But I've transitioned effectively. I've transitioned from all my active consulting work to doing what I do now. Speaking, teaching, creating courses, mentoring, masterminding. That's it. That's what I do. And I've transitioned. Now, will we transition more? Yeah, maybe I slow down on some of these things and go from there. The second thing is to look at it and say, I want you to look at it not just from the economics. I get the downsizing and is it the right financial move? There's plenty of wonderful financial moves. Like there are people that come to me and say, I want to move to Puerto Rico because I'm going to save a ton in taxes. Say, have you lived in Puerto Rico? No. Okay, go live there for a little bit. Because we don't make a move. My wife and I, we live in an expensive area. First off, an expensive state, California. And then we live by the beach on the water here in Laguna, okay? It's costly. And the taxes and all that stuff. So we went and looked. We looked in Washington, we looked in Austin, Texas, we looked in all these other states. But when it came down to it, we said, that will save us money, but it will erode the quality of our life and the life we enjoy. So having the quality of our life and the life we enjoy, this is the price we pay. And we don't make that decision just on finances. Now, if you're in dire straits and you need to be in a cheaper area and all that stuff, great. But my suggestion is to sit back and say, create the plan, the vision for your life, and then figure out where's the location to live that vision out. and build the financial plan to make that the reality and not allow the financial to drive the lifestyle. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Suzette asked this question, and I missed it the first time. I know this is her second time asking it. What are the 3 buckets should business owners use as a habit of taking care of their business? Maybe a question for a future session. Well, let's touch on it. From a business standpoint, it's a little different. Like in the 3 buckets, I said, you have the short-term, mid-term, and long-term. You kind of have the same thing, but we're not necessarily investing in the business. We have operating costs to run the business. We have overhead, we have fixed and variable costs. The higher your fixed costs are, the more challenging it'll be if there's a downturn or anything like that. The lower your margins are, the more challenging it'll be. The higher your labor is, the more you need it in store. So when it comes to a business, because I'm not investing through the business, I'm simply looking at how do I protect the operations of the business, the longevity of the business. And for me, there's a couple of protection points that I need to have in place. One, am I protecting the intellectual property, the systems, the processes, and everything that allow me to generate the income and to be distinct in a marketplace? Now, that isn't necessarily putting money aside, but it certainly could be things like NDAs, contracts, trademarks, copyrights, things like that. 2, am I protecting, my ability to earn? So if everything is reliant, like in my case, if everything's reliant on me to create the content to do this, and I stop and the earnings stop, that's a problem if I have a high overhead, because at some point, bills got to get paid. So how do we do this? One is to make sure that no one can take it away in a lawsuit. So that's structuring, but also having the right insurances in place. So for instance, having a long-term disability policy should a key person get disabled can help out. I've had one for decades, and I used it twice, once in my bike accident and once when I herniated 3 discs in my back. And they paid me well into the 6 figures to allow me to heal. But it allowed me to then keep paying the bills because it was paying off. 3, I think that we need to be very careful about our overhead structure, our fixed overhead versus variable. The lower I can keep the fixed overhead, the quicker I can make a maneuver or a change that allows me to navigate any kind of downturn or shift in the market. Okay. 3, I want to have a contingency fund. So we have an emergency fund or a peace of mind fund for us personally. The business has to have a contingency fund. How much? Could be as little as 2 or 3 months. But if I have a bunch of employees working for me, I look at it as if the employees, I am there supporting their family. So I take it very seriously. And so I might push to 4 or 5 months because I want to be able to take care of my employees should something happen. Keep them on. Allow them some transition time if I need to let them go. So I wouldn't necessarily have like the 3 buckets from an investing standpoint, but I have those things in place to make sure that your business is on solid ground to make that happen. So hopefully that helps, Suzette. It's a great question. Cool. Other questions? Any other last questions before we close out, y'all? This has been fun. Cool. All right, then let's close this one out with that and everything. Here's the thing. I do these pretty much every week, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Live to bring some stuff to you, to answer questions, to help you along. I don't want you out there floundering. I don't want you out there siloed, isolated, trying to figure it out on your own. And I may not have all the answers, and I'll tell you that. but I've lived a few years, as a CPA, as an advisor. I sat on boards of directors. I helped build a company from 20 million to almost 300 million. I've built the wealth. I've lost the wealth. I've built the wealth again. I've done it for my clients. I've seen a lot, so I might be able to give you a little perspective. I might be able to give you a little peace, and I might be able to give you a little direction. I came out of a cancer journey 2 times. And on the other side of that cancer journey, I realized I'm in this season of service, and that's why I do this. It's why I do the show. It's why I wrote the book. It's why I do what I do. And I want to continue to do that. And so part of that is you being on this journey with me, asking the questions to know that you don't have to be alone. I'm not selling insurance. I'm not selling investments. That's not what this is about. I'm selling you on your dreams. But I'm selling you on the fact that your dreams can be a reality. That's the game I want to play, because I believe that anything's possible. I really do. And I believe that financial freedom is your birthright. And I want to light that path. All right. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this conversation. And there's more to come. So watch for it. If you're not subscribed, if you're not following, make sure you're following me on the socials and everything, because I announce it there. And we'll make sure that you have the links to join me live each and every week, have your questions answered, keep you moving, get you in the game, and master your money, eliminate financial stress, and live a life of choice. All right. Until I get a chance to see you next week or another episode or on the road to your financial freedom, as I always say, always strive to live a life that outlives you. See you in the next one. Cheers. Bye now.